by the side of him, there's not much to see. He's wafer thin, just a paper man, destined for the garbage can. But he's more than two dimensions. He's got big dreams and bold intentions, there is no doubt. Just listen to me and you'll find out that he's more than a paper man.
Number 52, The Adventures of Flat Randy, The Surprise Cruise. Written by Beepa Emmett, inspired by Jeff Brown, illustrated by Beepa Emmett. Randy the Rutabaga was sure that the modifications he made to his copy machine would turn him into Flat Randy, like his new storybook hero, Flat Stanley. Randy had carefully rewired his copy machine and hoped that it would change him from three-dimensional into two-dimensional. Now, all he needed was Beepa to push the scan button and mail him out. Just then, Randy's doorbell rang, and it was Beepa. Randy explained what he had in mind and asked Beepa what he thought. Well, Beepa, what do you think? Are you crazy? Asked Beepa. How can you change? Can you survive in the envelope? Are you crazy? Randy explained to Beepa all his calculations, how he modified his copy machine, and how he had set up envelopes to send him on adventures with his friends. Beepa thought about it for a while and finally said he would help, but only if they do a test trip first. Beepa said that he could send Randy to his brother Gary's house on the other side of Orlando. It wasn't that far, only 25 miles, and if anything went wrong, Beepa could be right there to help. Randy agreed that a short experimental trip would make sense, so Randy explained to Beepa what he had to do, and they were ready for the trip. With the adjustment Randy made to his printer copy machine, Randy got on top and Beepa pressed the scan button and... He did it! Randy did it! He was able to change his matter and become like Flat Stanley. Now Beepa asked the most important question of the day. Randy, can you hear me? Yes, Beepa, I can hear you. I know you can hear me. From now on, call me Flat Randy. Now Randy, with the help of Beepa, would be able to start some new and exciting adventures. After some small talk, Beepa put Flat Randy into an envelope and addressed it to his brother Gary on the other side of Orlando. Then Beepa dropped off Randy at the mailbox and waited to hear from his brother of Flat Randy's arrival. Now that Flat Randy was safely in the mailbox, Beepa could only hope that everything would be all right. Beepa would call his brother later in the afternoon when Gary should be home from work, and explain to him what was going on, and that Beepa would drive over and pick up Flat Randy, and review the experiment. Beepa sat on his easy chair and soon fell asleep. All this excitement had tired him out. He started to dream. He dreamt of tropical islands and white sand beaches. He dreamt of hula babies. Ooh. And then Beepa woke up from his dream feeling of dread. Beepa had forgotten that his brother Gary was leaving for a cruise and would be gone for 10 days. He called his brother, but no one answered. Oh no, there was nothing that Beepa could do. All Beepa could do was wait to hear from his brother once he got back from his trip in 10 days. Oh, Beepa hoped everything would be all right, but who knew? Chapter 2. Beepa's brother Gary was in a hurry. His car was packed, his wife was ready for a vacation. She works in a hospital and really needed a break. Besides, as a surprise, Gary bought a ticket for their son Aaron, who lives in New York and they had not seen in over a year. Oh, picture of Aaron. Just as Gary was pulling out of his driveway, the postman ran up and gave him a large envelope. Gary didn't have time to read it and asked his wife to put it into his carry-on bag. Once they settled in their cabin, he would open it up and see what it was. The port at Cape Canaveral. Oh, there's their ship. Big one. Whoa. About 8 hours later, Gary, his wife, and son were settled in their cabin. Gary put the envelope on the table and promised himself that after they left the dock and things settled down, he would open the envelope. Besides, what could be so important as to interrupt his vacation? Oh, there's the envelope on the table in his cabin. Well, Gary finally opened the envelope and just about died when he pulled out Flat Randy. Hi, Gary. Surprise! Ho, my. Randy told Gary about the book Flat Stanley and how he had modified his copy machine and became Flat Randy. He told Gary about how Beepa suggested that they try a short, close-by trip to work out any problems with the procedure. Gary was quite impressed and was going to ask Flat Randy a few questions when Flat Randy shouted, "Hey, wait a minute. This isn't your house. I've been in that envelope like forever. Where the heck are we?" "Well, Randy, you're on board the Celebrity Edge. We just left Cape Canaveral on a 10-day Caribbean cruise." Sure enough, Gary brought Randy to the balcony, and all Randy could see was the ocean. Randy thought about how Beepa had messed up, but then Randy thought, 1. My experiment worked and I've become Flat Randy. 2. Instead of a 1-day non-trip, I'm on a 10-day cruise. 3. Since Gary can't mail me back to Beepa until we get back to the United States, I might as well enjoy myself. 4. Okay, Flat Randy, let's start this new adventure. Chapter 3. Gary pulled up a map of the cruise itinerary. Flat Randy was ready for a little vacay and enjoyed his first ever cruise. Randy at the pool. Randy in the casino. Randy wins bigs at the slot machine. A visit to Puerto Rico. Coffee break with Aaron. Next stop, St. Thomas. Little romp on the beach. Then on to St. Kitts. There it is, way out in the ocean. A little sightseeing tour. A ship at night. Randy in the lounge. Randy at sunset. But all too soon, Flat Randy's cruise was over, and Gary, his family, and Flat Randy headed back to Gary's house. Nice house, Gary. Gary called Beepa and told him about how Flat Randy wound up on the 10-day cruise. He also asked Beepa what to do with Flat Randy. Should he mail Flat Randy back to Beepa's or drive him over or what? Beepa thought about it for a few minutes and came up with a great idea for Flat Randy. Randy, remember my niece and nephew that live in Michigan? How would you like to see the beauty of Grand Haven, Michigan? Oh, the beach, I remember. Oh, and there's everybody? Yeah, I remember them. With Flat Randy agreeing to visit Grand Haven, Michigan, Beepa told Gary what address to put on the envelope for Flat Randy's next adventure. The next day, Gary went back to work with Flat Randy, ready to be mailed for a new adventure. There he is. The end. Psst! Don't tell Flat Randy, but it's the dead of winter in Michigan, and that means cold.